All right, I wanted to do this little update of what I'm reading and this last week I've had. Uh, I uh, I just got out of the hospital. I had an appendectomy. So a lot of people, if you've been following the channel, I've been preparing for the Sound of Music for the symphony, local symphonies doing that, and I've been involved with that. And so for the last 4 months, I've been working on that. And this week is the show. Yesterday was the first night, and so we had dress rehearsals all earlier this week, and over the weekend. And starting on Monday, I started to have this kind of abdominal pain. It was actually more like a lower back pain. I was just uncomfortable. Thought it was maybe just my belt was too tight or something. Like it was just everything's wonky, and I had my microphone. It was back there, so I couldn't really sit right. And then we finished our last dress rehearsal, and we it was going to be the dark day or whatever they call it, the tradition that you don't do a rehearsal the day before. You're supposed to just rest up and be ready, and then the next day you have your real show. So I woke up at about 3 in the morning, and I just, I was feeling terrible, stomach pain. I thought I was backed up. I thought I was just really constipated or something, but I've never had that kind of feeling when doing it. So I looked up, some constipation. I know this is what you clicked on. This is what you clicked on. Sorry. I looked up some constipation massage thing and found something like some lady on the beach was like rubbing her stomach and start in the lower right and kind of go up and down, and that's supposed to like follow your tract. So I was doing that at like 3 in the morning, and like you rub it and you do the scooping motion, and I felt a lot of pain on right where my appendix is, and I didn't clue in, but I was just rubbing it for 20 minutes. And then I just felt terrible, and I was throwing up for hours and hours and hours. And again, I thought I was just constipated. And I sent my spouse to go get like laxatives and stuff, and like nothing was working. Again, this is a booktube video and you're hearing this. Anyway, went in and got laparoscopic surgery done, got out, and missed the first day of shows, but I'm back at it, and I might be able to get this one tonight and tomorrow as well. So hopefully we had to my understudy, he hasn't come to practice for the last month, so he was, they had to figure some other things out. Anyway, um, I have been reading A Time of Dread because when I started getting into fantasy, The Faithful and the Fallen just kept coming up, and I really loved it. I really loved it. Pound for pound, I think John Gwynne is one of the best writers for bringing excitement on every page. It's very quick moving, and I really really liked it. I can't wait to read the first four again. And when I did, when I read them, I think I read them all in a month. Like read one in a week and then the next. And I thought I was going to get into the next part of the series. Then I wanted to try some Brandon Sanderson, and I wanted to try some other things. So I never got back to it, but I finally decided now's the time. And so here are my thoughts so far. I'm not super far into it. Just started it. About 135 pages in, and I'm really 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 liking it. If you haven't read the first four books, Malice, Valor, Ruin, and Wrath, you might not want to watch this. You could read these three, A Time of Dread, and I think it's A Time of Blood and A Time of Courage or something like that. You could read them, but you would miss out. You would miss out on a lot of Easter eggs, and it spoils it right at the start what happens in those first four. So really, you shouldn't want to read them. But it happens, I think, something like 100 years later. We have beings like giants and things that live a long time that existed in the first books that you see show up again in these books here, and we know that some of the results of we're seeing sort of the aftermath of what happened, and especially what I'm so interested in is the Benalim and the Kadoshim element of it, and it's interesting naming that he would use for the Benalim, because if you go to Job, like in the Bible, if you go to Job and then look at the Hebrew for sons of God, it's the Ben Ha Elohim, and then the Kadoshim in like Leviticus, the Hebrew is holy ones. So isn't that interesting? And I'm wondering where John Gwynne is going to do, what he's where this is going to go, because it seems very black and white. The Benalim as like the good ones, even though they're vicious and they've done some awful things in this. Holy moly! Rule with an iron fist, and the Kadoshim seem very much like the bat-like devils who play on people's insecurities, not only just like vicious rituals and weird things, but they like know how to get inside you, and so it's very interesting. And I'm very curious at where this is headed. And we have like half breeds and things like that. So it's interesting to see where John Gwynne has sourced some of his naming and ideas. And I noticed that in the first four books as well. I really like it. I like these new characters we have. We have Riv, who I think had one of the coolest openings with this little trial that she has with the Benalim guy that starts with an I, who I really like. And he's cold and whatever, but I really like him. We have Sig from the first series is back. We had Alkion, I think is the name. We found him. We have Drem and his dad, who kind of live in this area where they don't want to live. They want to live outside of the influence of the Benalim. We have Bleda. Is that his name? I really like him. And let me just look through. Jin as well. Like I'm so glad to be back. Now, I don't know if I will love any of these guys as much as like Verdus and Makin. Is that his name? But man, I'm liking it, and like Cywen and Corbin. But so far so good. And I'm just so glad to be back, and what a bummer to have this appendectomy, but I mean, it gave me a chance to relax and start some more reading and things like that. So I will talk to you guys soon. If you want to read along with me, if you're also in the same boat where you've read the first four and you wanted to read the next ones, come along and read with me. If not, I would recommend picking up Malice and going for it. It is one of my favorite series ever. I imagine I will pick that one up often and just read through it again. Very easy reading, even though there are a lot of characters. It wasn't as hard to keep like magic systems and all that in place, like something with Malazan. Like you can get through it a little bit simpler, but really great. And he's not afraid of he doesn't give his characters plot armor. like any of your favorite characters can have awful things happen or just be killed, and it's terrible, and I hate him for it, but I also love the author for it. So anyway, that's where I've been, and I'm doing great though. So I'll talk to you guys later.